All right, let's talk about one of the most exciting and maybe one of the most challenging climbs in the entire world of tech, becoming an AI product manager. It really is a journey to a summit, and we've basically got the map for the whole expedition, using the AI Product Management Masterbook as our guide. So let's get into it. You hear this title all the time, right? AIPM. It's surrounded by so much hype. But what does it actually mean? What does it really take? I'll tell you what it's not about. It's not about just knowing the buzzwords. It's about a deep, practical understanding of how to build, manage, and ultimately lead these incredibly intelligent systems. You know, the best way to wrap your head around this career path is to think of it like a mountain climb. Seriously, it requires a ton of preparation, you've got a really steep technical ascent, and then it takes true leadership to actually reach the top. This right here, this is your trail map for that entire journey. So, here's the game plan for our climb. First, we're going to look up at the summit what the role itself is all about. Then, we'll talk about gearing up with the right foundations. After that, we tackle that steep technical ascent, and then we'll see what leadership looks like from the peak. And finally, we'll chart a course for launching your very own expedition. So, what's at the top of this mountain anyway? What are we aiming for? Well, an AI product manager isn't just your traditional PM who slaps AI in their title. No way. They are the architects of systems that can think, and they are deeply, deeply involved in the entire life cycle of that product. When you get right down to it, an AIPM is the central hub. They still manage the product lifecycle, sure, but their focus? It shifts dramatically. They're not just thinking about features anymore. They're obsessed with the quality of the data, the performance of the models, and how you even measure intelligence in the first place. This means they have to work super closely with machine learning teams and navigate these totally unique risks, like model bias or drift, that a traditional PM just never has to think about. Okay, so before any big climb, what do? You gear up. You make sure you have the right equipment. Before you can even think about that steep ascent, you need a rock-solid foundation. This is the essential knowledge that's going to support you all the way to the top. Think of your gear as having three essential pieces. First, and this is the big one, is your AI and machine learning intuition. This isn't about memorizing complex formulas. It's about having a real feel for what's possible, like knowing the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. Next up, practical math. You don't need to be a math whiz, but you do need to speak the language of your engineers, so understanding things like vectors and gradients is key. And finally, you gotta have a multi-tool, right? That's your code essentials. Basic Python and data handling skills are gonna be your best friend on this journey. All right, we're all geared up? Now for the most challenging part of this whole thing, the steep technical ascent. This is where you build that deep, specialized knowledge that really sets an AIPM apart from everyone else. It's going to be tough, for sure, but trust me, the view from up here is absolutely worth it. You don't just teleport to the top, right? This climb happens in stages. You start at base camp with classical machine learning, getting the fundamentals down, like regression and decision trees. From there, you climb higher into the world of deep learning and neural networks. And that final push to the summit? That's when you master the modern giants, transformer architectures, and, of course, large language models. Each step builds right on top of the last one. Now, as you get near the summit, you're going to master some incredibly powerful techniques, like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. This is an absolute game changer. Why? Because it's how you stop an LLM from just, well, making stuff up. It grounds the model in specific, factual, up-to-date information, which is how you make AI reliable enough for the real world. And how it works is actually pretty straightforward, at least in concept. You take all your data, your knowledge base, you break it into smaller chunks, and then you turn those chunks into these numerical representations called embeddings. So when a user asks a question, the system zips through your database, finds the most relevant chunks of info, and feeds them to the LLM right along with the original prompt. So simple, but so powerful. And if RAG is near the summit, then right at the very, very peak of our technical climb, that's where you find the true frontier, agentic AI systems. This is the absolute cutting edge. Once you've learned how to retrieve information with RAG, the next logical step is to build AI that can act on it. AI that can plan, use tools, and reason through complex problems all on its own. This is where the entire field is heading. Reaching that technical peak is an incredible achievement. Wow. But the journey isn't over. Now you have to lead from the summit. This next part is all about taking that deep technical knowledge and using it to become a true product leader. Just look at how the core job itself transforms. A regular PM writes a product requirements document. An AIPM's document has to get way deeper, defining critical data needs and specific model performance metrics. A traditional PM plans a roadmap. An AIPM's roadmap has to account for things that don't even exist in traditional software, like model retraining and concept drift. You're still solving business problems, but you're working with a completely different set of tools. Real leadership from the summit means mastering 4 huge areas. You have to own the operational side, MLOps, to keep your models running reliably out in the wild. You have to be an expert navigator of complex regulations and ethics to ensure your product is fair and safe. And maybe most importantly, you have to be the champion for your team, leading these highly specialized experts to build something that's not just remarkable, but also responsible. So you've done it. You've reached the summit. You have the technical knowledge, you have the leadership skills. Now what? How do you actually launch your career and get ready for that next expedition? The launch sequence is a pretty clear 3-step process. First, you've got to show, not just tell. Build a portfolio with real projects. Second, you have to master the interviews, which come with their own unique flavor, like AI system design questions. And finally, you launch. But, and this is the key, you never ever stop learning. You have to constantly be polishing that portfolio, building your network, and just staying on top of this incredibly fast-moving field. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the spirit of this role. Because in the world of AI, there's no such thing as a final peak. The landscape is always shifting under your feet. Reaching the summit of AI product management, well, that just gets you ready for the next, even more exciting climb ahead. So there you have it, the whole map, from base camp all the way to the summit of AI product management. The path is clear, and yeah, it's challenging. But the only question left is, are you ready to take that first step?